Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining me on this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe television. Our major stories tonight: at least 3 women have died and several others hospitalized after a boat carrying goods, fuel and 10 people caught fire in Gulfe near Marwa. The incident, which occurred recently, has left many in shock as the cause of the blaze remains unknown. Meantime, the Speaker of the National Assembly, Kavaige Jibril, and the Marwa City Mayor have been accused of blatantly disregarding a 2020 presidential decree by wearing sashes with national colors and political symbols during President Paul Biya's campaign launch in Marwa. The incident has sparked controversy just days ahead of the 2025 presidential elections. Those are top stories tonight. The news in full in a jiffy. Thank you so much for choosing Equinoxe Television to get yourself informed. For presentation, I am Immaculate Fogwe. 3 women have died and several others hospitalized in a hospital in Marwa after an engine boat transporting goods, including fuel, and 10 people caught fire in Gulfe. Reports say 3 children were saved by inhabitants. The cause of the fire still remains a mystery, as Smajikan Gabriel tells us.
A woman with a second-degree burn in pains. Inhabitants struggle to save other victims. This is Gulfe, a locality in the far north region of Cameroon, where an engine boat on transit caught flames. The engine boat that left Blangwa en route to Maltam made a stopover at Gulfe before it suddenly went ablaze. On the canoe were gallons of fuel, goods, and 10 passengers. As a result of the intervention from the population, some passengers were saved, amongst them 3 children who were rushed to the hospital. But unfortunately, their mothers, who were amongst the people who drowned in the water, didn't make it. The cause of the inferno on the engine boat is not yet known, but local administrators have always called on the population to be cautious whenever transporting flammable liquids.
And residents in Barijum, a neighborhood in the Mayo Banyo division of the Adamawa region, are standing firm in their demand for the non-reinstatement of their traditional ruler, Christophe Nyembli. The community recently stormed the third-class chiefdom, expressing their discontent over Nyembli's suspension and demanding his immediate return to duty, as Sedi Chakutio tells us.
In Barijum, a neighborhood located in the Mayo Banyo division of the Adamawa region, inhabitants have stormed the third-class chiefdom, demanding the return of Chief Christophe Nyembli to his traditional dignitary duties.
Nous, la population d'Ambirija, nous revendiquons notre chef Nyembli Christian depuis 2006 à Ambirija.
Following the death of His Majesty Segu Nonzem, His Majesty Christian Nyembli was to succeed him, but for health reasons, he will be forced to be absent.
Moi, le notable, je réclame notre chef, le Massé, nommé en 2006, le successeur de Gandalf Seydou.
In his absence, another chief was reportedly installed by certain notables. Since then, tensions have been recorded in the locality.
Nous sommes partis chez le préfet à peu près 3 fois. Nous sommes partis chez le ministre, aller plaider là-bas.
Local authorities have so far failed to put an end to this tense atmosphere, but notables have reportedly sent a letter to the President of the Republic in an effort to restore peace in this chiefdom.
Nous sommes des
passer sur notre problème de la chefferie et Mbiridoua. Notre chef village n'est pas à l'aise.
The inhabitants remain determined to pursue this demand until justice is done.
That was Siri Chakutia reporting. Then something else, residents of Bakuma Bateku clan in the Upper Bayang subdivision in the southwest region are pleading with the government to rehabilitate and expand the road from Mamfe to Bateku, which has become impassable. As a result of the deplorable state of the road, vehicles can't ply the stretch. Thus, the locals are obliged to make use of bikes to transport their goods. Asa Lucilengu highlights the challenges faced by the people of Bakumba and Bateku clan found in the Mangu division of the southwest region.
The several kilometer stretch of road linking Mamfe to Bakumba Bateku clan in the Upper Bayang subdivision of the southwest region has quickly narrowed to a footpath.
We struggle now for make small roadway, we carry our small crop them.
The roads, according to Aban Clement Eyong from Bakumba Bateku clan, has become impassable due to lack of rehabilitation works for over the years.
To be taken to a place of Cameroon, we get timber for our forests, we get oil for our site.
Though the Upper Bayang subdivision in the Mangu division has a diverse and abundant supply of agricultural goods, farmers find it challenging to transport their goods from farm to market, as vehicles can no longer navigate the road, which now resembles a footpath.
It's not easy for we, but we get to take it into our hands. It is like say government not forget our zone.
The people of Bateku clan have resorted to using bikes to access the main road, but the dilapidated state of the road presents its own challenges.
So we don't try to make our small truck where go to carry our goods and it go easier for our bike then too. So anyone we get small support, we do wait time.
The youth of Bakumba Bateku clan have been expressing their frustration after complaining to authorities with no solutions provided. In response, they have decided to mobilize themselves, with each of them contributing a bag of cement to maintain a small section of the road where bikes can at least circulate without issues.
If government fits into our cry, now we say we don't take it into our hands to fix more Okada trap, where if you carry our kako them from Bakumba, from Tafu to the main bush to market route.
They have also decided to reinforce the long bridge that was gradually collapsing.
See how they don't start to cross that new bridge and no farm.
In addition to the road problems in the Upper Bayang subdivision, Mangu division residents face other issues such as poor network and high unemployment rate.
Inside we get builder, they will get contractor, they will get architect them. But most of them, they didn't have a village to work there. Small family because of the difficulties we face for the country.
The inhabitants of Bakumba Bateku clan are urgently calling on the government for intervention and support from people of goodwill to improve on their dire situation.
Still in the southwest region, workers of the Common Development Corporation, the CDC, burst into jubilation after they started receiving bank alerts on their phones for an official launching of the payment of the second quarter of 15.7 billion francs CFA funds for salary arrears owed the CDC workers. The Prime Minister and Minister of Finance were in Limbe to carry out the launching. Davidson Maimo reports from Limbe.
The General Manager of the Cameroon Development Corporation, Franklin Goninje, joined CDC workers in jubilations after Cameroon's Prime Minister, Chief Dr. Dion Gouti, accompanied by the Minister of Finance, Louis-Paul Moutazi, among others, officially launched the payment of 15.7 billion CFA francs as a second quarter bailout for acute salary arrears owed by CDC between 2018 and 2022 caused by the Anglophone crisis. In his address, the Prime Minister said the survival of the CDC was both political and economic, thus making Tuesday the 7th a rebirth event for the giant agro corporation. Chief Dr. Dion Gouti added that there were other sectors the money could have been allocated to, hence it will be a betrayal if the CDC workers could not appreciate it by voting massively for Paul Biya on Sunday, October 12, 2025. In an expression of satisfaction, the chiefs of FACO division dressed the Minister of Finance in Bakure traditional regalia, naming him a son of FACO. The event was crowned with the award of honorary medals to members of the committee that worked to ensure a successful outcome of the government bailout.
And now let's take a listen to an excerpt of the CDC General Manager, Franklin Gonenji, in this excerpt compiled by Davison Maimo.
Wonderful thing. It's a promise fulfilled. The head of state has fulfilled it, and there's so much. I said it that apart from what has already been realized, there's so much still on the pipe. There's what CDC is CDC is quite a beneficiary of the Presidential Initiative for Import Substitution. CDC is going to receive a new rubber factory and a new palm oil mill. I think that that makes the game for the revival of the CDC. Thank you.
Franklin Gonenji, General Manager of the Cameroon Development Corporation, CDC, speaking there. Away from that, some major political parties and actors in Cameroon have condemned the arrest of political actor Abubakar Usman Main Garwa, North Region of Cameroon, on October 6, 2025, calling for his immediate release. They say that the arrest is arbitrary with an aim to intimidate, disrupt and muzzle the opposition as days narrow to the October 12 presidential election. Others, like members of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement CRM party, call on the international community to note what is happening in Cameroon and act accordingly. Femi Armstrong Sanda has the details.
The visit of Cameroon Prime Minister Chief Dr. Dion Gote in Limbe, headquarters of FACO Division, aimed at amplifying support for Paul Biya come October 12, has been described as a mega rally, given that the turnout surpassed that of the CPDM Southwest Regional launching in Buea. Taking place at the Limbe Centenary Stadium, CPDM militants, supporters and sympathizers from the four corners of the 7 subdivisions that make up FACO Division adhere to the call of Professor Nalova Lyunga, head of delegation of FACO Permanent Divisional Delegation of the Central Committee of the CPDM and FACO Divisional Campaign Head. Being a Southwesterner, Chief Dr. Dion Gote told the people of FACO Division that their loyalty for Paul Biya has stood the test of time and it is the right moment for them to reap big. Thus, it is imperative for all to vote Paul Biya come October 12 presidential election day. In her welcome statement, Professor Nalova Lyunga, CPDM FACO Divisional Campaign Head, assured Paul Biya through the Prime Minister of a landslide victory in FACO Division. The various. In her welcome statement, Professor Nalova Lyunga, CPDM FACO Divisional Campaign Head, assured Paul Biya through the Prime Minister of a landslide victory in FACO Division. The various subdivisional campaign teams have been asked to intensify village, quarter, and door-to-door mobilization of potential voters.
That was Radha Davison Maimo reporting there. Still in campaign, some major political parties and actors in Cameroon have condemned the arrest of political actor Abubakar Usman Main Garwa, North Region of Cameroon, on October 6, 2025, calling for his immediate release. They say that the arrest is arbitrary and with an aim to intimidate, disrupt and muzzle the opposition as days narrow to the October 12 presidential election. Other, like the members of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement CRM party, call on the international community to note what is happening in Cameroon and act accordingly. Details with Femi Armstrong Sanda.
In a social media release, the National Union for Democracy and Progress (NUDP) political party described May's arrest as a regrettable act and called for his immediate release. The party's national president, Bello Buba Maigari, refutes allegations circulating on social media that May's arrest was linked to a complaint filed by him. According to the party, May is accused of holding an illegal demonstration and incitement to revolt. The NUDP party says it remains determined to pursue its fight for a peaceful, inclusive, and respectful democracy of fundamental rights and invites the public to be extremely vigilant in the face of disinformation. The Cameroon Renaissance Movement CRM party also condemns May's arrest, labeling it as arbitrary and a serious threat to the electoral process and democracy. In a strongly worded communique, the party's acting national president, Mamadou Mota, demanded May's immediate release and called for clear and transparent explanations from the authorities. The party says this act of exceptional gravity was carried out on the direct orders of the senior divisional officer for the Benue
in the midst of the electoral campaign period. Mota says the CRM party considers that this act is dictated by higher political authority and clearly aims to intimidate, muscle, and disrupt the opposition during a crucial phase of a democratic life. The CRM party also calls on the national and international community to take note of the alleged disregard for the rule of law and to exert pressure to put an end to such practices. The reaction of the National Union for Democracy and Progress and the Cameroon Renaissance Movement political parties highlights the growing tension in the lead-up to the elections and the need for transparency and accountability in the electoral process across Cameroon.
And in other news, a presidential decree of July 13, 2020 forbids parliamentarians and municipal authorities from wearing the sash with the national colors together with symbols of a political party, an association, or religious organization. This injunction was grossly trampled upon by the Speaker of the National Assembly and the Marwa City Mayor right in front of the President of the Republic, Paul Biya Marwa, on Tuesday, while officially launching his campaign in the final region chief town Marwa. Innocent Aze reports.
The question if laws of the Republic and presidential decrees haunts particular persons and a class of others above those laws keep bouncing out of the mouths of Cameroonians bittered by this. In Cameroon, it is common to hear authorities say no one is above the law and anyone who violates it must be punished. Curiously enough, some authorities trample on the laws meant to govern everyone on the Cameroonian soil. A recent case was on Tuesday, October 7, 2025, when the head of state officially launched his presidential campaign in Marwa, Far North region, at the Lamido Yaya Dairo Stadium. On that occasion, the President of the National Assembly, Honorable Kavayege Jibril, and the City Mayor of Marwa, Dr. Sali Babani, were seen grossly violating a presidential decree of July 13, 2020. Both the executive and municipal authorities, in a pure political event, wore the green, red, yellow sash on the fabric of the CPDM party they put on. This was brandished as they paraded the tribune to address the officials and rest of the attendees.
Ici, nous sommes en politique. Nous ne sommes pas venus pour égorger les bœufs.
Consulting Chapter 2 of the said presidential decree of July 13, 2020, Article 5 clearly states that the sash in the national colors may not be worn together with the symbols of a political party, an association, or a religious organization. Both authorities violated this decree right in the watchful eyes of its signatory, President Paul Biya. However, no action might be taken against them, since the presidential decree itself does not provide any sanction to violators, putting a question mark on the power of certain enacted laws which lack enforcement. Just like the World Pass Bacalais qualified the League of Nations as a toothless bulldog in its efforts to restore peace in the world after World War I. Some commentators in this case see the presidential decree as similar to the League of Nations that failed to attain its objective. The sash with the national colors, as stated in Article 4 of the presidential decree, can be worn during ceremonies attended by the head of state and parliamentarians, as well as in the solemn discharge of their duties.
A group of patriotic intellectuals in Cameroon have urged citizens to vote for Issa Chuma Bakari in the upcoming presidential election. In a two-page letter, they described the CNSF party candidate as experienced and also well-equipped to reform the government from within. The group emphasizes that it's time for Cameroonians to take control of their country and vote for the much-needed change, as Malaglory reports.
Two-page letter. The collective of patriotic intellectuals in Cameroon say, out of the 12 candidates vying for the position of the President of the Republic, Issa Chuma Bakari of the CNSF, Cameroon National Salvation Front party, is better qualified and can restore Cameroon to its glory. The group, headed by Barrister Alice Com, Michel Ndoki and Caliste Bayalal made a stand to support Chiroma and call on Cameroonians to make a wise decision, stand behind their candidate on October 12th. They note that many Cameroonians feel like strangers in their own homes, surviving on crumbs left by a regime more interested in power than the well-being of the people. This is due to the high cost of living in Cameroon, which has affected many families, especially the internally displaced persons who have abandoned their homes and properties. The collective of patriotic intellectuals believe Issa Chiroma can bring the change that is highly needed. According to the letter published recently, Cameroonians must support Chiroma because of his exceptional knowledge of the system, acquired after 20 years in government, his political courage and ability to lead difficult reforms. The group believes he embodies a credible bridge between the old system and the renewal awaited by the younger generation. They further that Issa Chiroma has the experience necessary to negotiate the transition and reform the system from within. Therefore, Cameroonians should support Chiroma on Sunday, October 12th, not only to vote but to absolutely be vigilant, monitor the vote counting with utmost rigor in order to ensure its integrity.
And the same vein, Issa Chiroma Bakari has now succeeded to woo a cross-section of the population of Cameroon. Wherever he goes, crowds of both the young and the old sing his name as the man of the hour. He is now seen by many, including those who were on the other side, as the potential liberator of Cameroon. Babla Jonathan has greater details.
The high number of people crowding around the presidential candidate of the Cameroon National Salvation Front is now described as the Issa Chiroma phenomenon. The huge crowds following his campaign train has shifted positions, perceptions, and the compass of political analysis.
It's humility to recognize that some other person's judgment might be better than mine. So I think I am in for Issa Chiroma. I'm going to vote for him, and I pray that he keeps to his word, and that other opposition parties, why not even the Buba Bello, Buba could come up and support Issa Chiroma, as much as advocated for Issa Chiroma to go to him. He too can come to Issa Chiroma, mindful of the fact that Issa Chiroma is pulling so much crowd. Issa Chiroma is ready for the fight. Issa Chiroma carried the steam that we need at this moment.
Issa Chiroma is now seen by some political analysts as one who is born again, so to speak.
I want to think the person we have known in him in the past has been chased out, and everything in him has become new. That is why when you compare, like the popular saying is standing now, we need to choose a better devil over the worst devil. And I've been saying these days, even if it means we roll a stone to a 2D, first let the stone be managing a 2D before we come back to look at who can better manage a 2D. Let us roll the stone. I see that stone in Issa Chiroma Bakari. I see in him that person that God has used from a Saul to a Paul at this particular point in time. But every Cameroonian, I am telling you, even 3 months babies in their mother's hands are asking for change.
Political analyst Ndigum Emmanuel holds the opinion that there is no need holding to the past of Issa Chiroma Bakari in connection to what he said or did when he was a member of the Biya government. To him, the goal of change and the future of the country is more important than the past of the politician.
And now we talk sports. Cameroon's World Cup hopes are reignited. The Indomitable Lions 2-0 win over Mauritius, combined with Cape Verde's 3-3 draw against Libya, sets up a thrilling finale. If Cameroon beats Angola at home and Cape Verde fails to win against Eswatini, the Lions will top the group with a superior goal difference of +12 versus +5. Cameroon will even peep Cape Verde to the top spot if both teams end up with 21 points. This definitely means if Cape Verde draws in their remaining game, ending up with 21 points, and Cameroon wins, ending up with the same 21 points, Cameroon qualifies as group leader on the basis of a superior goal difference. And that's what put a cap to this first part of the news. Talking Point comes up next. On the line in the United Kingdom is veteran journalist Eric CHINJE. Good evening. It's a pleasure to have you on Talking Point tonight.
Well, thank you very much, Immaculate, and glad to be with you and to interact with your audience.
Eric CHINJE, what are your thoughts on the massive mobilization of Cameroonians visiting ELECAM offices to obtain their voter cards? How does this reflect their engagement in the electoral process at this point in time?
Well, first of all, if people are eager to come and get their election cards, it's clearly because everybody sees the historic importance of this election. And it's evidence that Cameroonians who were lethargic almost about change are now finally recognizing the power they have to bring about change. I think that's the most important thing, that citizens are finally aware of the fact that the decision is ultimately theirs, not the government's, it's not some appointed official. Each citizen has to weigh in. People are recognizing that power and they're beginning to use it. And I'm sure that's why they're coming out to pick up their cards, their voting cards.
Can you elaborate on the importance of citizen participation in the electoral process, particularly in voting, controlling votes, and how Project C aims to promote this?
Citizen participation is always critical. You know, it is said that nations get the leader they deserve. And if for the last 60 plus years we've had the same kind of leadership, it is precisely because we as a people reflected the nature of the leaders that we had. I think we have a nation of people now who are not content with their circumstances as they are. We have citizens now who want to see a change in their environment, a change in their circumstances. We have citizens who are fed up, who are tired of having medical institutions that are not performant. They're tired with the corruption in government. They're tired with the quality of our public services across the board. They're tired of roads that are not practicable for the most part. They're tired of leaders who are completely cut off from them, and would only come to them once in a voting age, that is when they're coming to seek their votes, so once in a mandate. They're tired of that. And that's what we are seeing. These citizens who are tired of that are now saying, we want a different kind of leadership. That's what's happening. So, those who think they can hold back the nation are mistaken. Please, just let the process go. It might result in Mr. Biya coming back in, staying in office, but it might also result in Mr. Biya not being, leaving for Mbomeka. It might result in that. And it's important that all of us Cameroonians accept this outcome because it is reflective of the leadership we want.
individuals who are yet to receive their voters' cards. What support or solution does Project C offer to ensure these citizens can exercise their right to vote?
Maybe I should, I guess I should have responded to your previous questions with regard to Project C. Project C essentially is a group of us, Cameroonians in the diaspora. And increasingly, because we interact a lot with Cameroonians at home, so we're getting a lot of information, feedback, education from our brothers and sisters at home. But essentially, Project C then is many of us in the diaspora who have come together and said, what can we do to help the country, especially now, but going into the future, and on very specific issues. The country has problems of all types. We've got the problem of the elections now. Now is we're looking for that key that will unlock the door to change in Cameroon. Do you know that one of the problems we've had in the last few decades in Cameroon is the inability of the system to accept new ideas? The system has not been willing to accept new ideas in the past. So we're now we're working to inject those new ideas into the system. I mean, I realized, and I'll tell you, let me speak from my own perspective. I'm a journalist, my background, as you know well, and I have traveled across Africa as head of communications for Africa at the World Bank and at the African Development Bank at one time. And I got to interact a lot with journalists during periods of election. And I came to realize, for example, that our media, the media in Cameroon, is totally not equipped to help a country deal with elections. I came to realize that last year, I took the time to study, to do a content analysis of Cameroon media. And I realized, oh my God, these journalists, these influencers, these social media activists, they're not injecting into our national conversations the quality of information and the kind of education, public education, that citizens need to be good actors in a democratic state. I came to realize that. And what did I do? I had to figure out how to work with media professionals and others in Cameroon. And as part of the Project C work, we needed to raise some funds to make that happen.
For those who aren't yet of voting age, what initiatives has Project C been implementing for the past weeks to encourage their involvement and also awareness of the electoral process, fostering a culture of civic engagement from a young age?
Project C came into existence with the current electoral period. So we're fairly new. And but going forward, since we intend to stay involved and contribute to the country as best we can, I believe, there are elections coming up. There are lots of elections coming up. There are parliamentary elections, there are municipal elections. We plan to stay involved. And at each step in the way, we will try to determine how best, with the meager, we're not a wealthy outfit. We take on issues as they come, and we appeal to Cameroonians who can make a contribution. Not a whole lot. Some give $10, others give $100, and so on. It adds up to some extent, and then we can determine how best to use the few dollars we collect, how best to use it for maximum effect.
How engaged, or let's say interested, are Cameroonians in the diaspora with regards to the upcoming elections?
There's been growing interest. When we started off, people were not very interested because everybody said, the results are known in advance. So we had to overcome that hurdle by convincing people that if we can help Cameroonians understand the power in their hands to change outcomes, then we may be able to influence those outcomes. So it took a while, it took us months to finally bring a few Cameroonians around to understand that we can also contribute to change in the country. That is part of what we should be doing. We cannot just sit back and expect change without contributing to achieving it. So slowly, people have been, they've developed increasing faith in the electoral process. Slowly, more and more Cameroonians have come around to believing what we said at the beginning, that if we vote massively, if people pick up their cards and go out and vote, they can influence change. And I think we're beginning to see, we're seeing that happen. We hope that, the results of the ballot will be announced as they are, and the change we need, so desire in the country, will come about.
You seem to be very convinced and confident that there will be a change at the helm of government this year. But then, looking at how things are evolving, are you convinced that the upcoming elections will be fair and transparent?
To make sure it is fair and transparent, we are doing everything to make sure that what voters vote for on Sunday is what will be announced on Monday or beyond. We're doing everything in our power to make sure. Over the next few days, we are working with all the organizations that are involved in voter surveillance, in monitoring the voting. And I think, based on what I see, that there's real hope that we will get the results we demand. We'll get the results of what went into the ballot boxes. So I'm fairly confident, but I'm also willing to plead with all those who know how to pray, because I think I've come to understand the power of prayer. So I think, and I can tell you that I've had incidences here that kind of remind me that there's divine intervention in what is happening in Cameroon. So I think there'll be change.
Thank you so much for accepting my invitation on Talking Point tonight.
Well, thank you, and good luck with this program. You're doing a good job, and just keep doing it. And I hope and pray that we'll have the outcomes on Sunday that we all desire. Again, just tell everybody, go out and vote. Get your voting card if you've not picked it up. Pick it up, go out and vote, and let's have the work for the Cameroon that we want. Thank you so much, Immaculate.
Veteran journalist Eric CHINJE speaking to us live from the United Kingdom. And that's what put a cap to today's edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your keen attention. Stay in the company of interesting programs on Equinoxe Television. See you tomorrow, same time, God willing. Bye-bye for now. So long.